I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
Man, that is a,
On this
that is a
sad
sad
clown.
clown.
Proud of my address.
Dude, that's pretty good.
This is the GLUE-OOM, bringing you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha packs, exploring their F3 experiences and finding those sticky elements that create the glue in the GLUE-OOM.
Should we try this? We got LPC and Grillz. This is a live episode here. We're talking about site-Q-isms, and LPC is getting ready to take over Combine. Grillz is getting ready to hand off the site to an unknown, undisclosed, high-impact man. What does it even mean to be a site-Q? I mean, what's it mean for you? You've been a site-Q for over a year.
Yeah, so Grillz here. It's been kind of a crazy experience because I was involved in F3 for like a year before I really took over a site or started a site, Battlefield. And so it's been really great to just really engage, given a reason to engage with some pack members that you might not normally engage with. Try to expand the connections between the different pack members. And then really get a chance to kind of look for guys that are accelerating and recognize leadership in those guys, and then really kind of push them to engage in that acceleration. So it's been fun.
What's okay? One piece of something as a site-Q that LPC has got to do, and then what's one thing that you've learned that he should not do?
Yeah. Well,
Hold on, I'm taking notes.
Let me finish my vegan salad here. So one thing that you've got to do is look for ways to engage guys from other parts of the city to really get them involved in, coming to your site or encouraging guys from your site to go to other sites. The thing that you should not do is you should not look for guys. You should make sure. Let me say it this way: you should make sure that guys are healthy before you get them on your queue schedule.
That's a slight dig to me, because I was on the queue schedule like 6 weeks in a row, and I was not healthy.
No dig on you. I just didn't do a good job of making sure that you were really healthy.
Yeah.
And I was really pushing you to do something that probably you shouldn't have done. So yeah, that's what I would say. That's what I'd say. I'll leave it there.
So, as a guy getting ready to be a site-Q, what are you excited? You nervous? What are you thinking about?
Obviously it's an honor and excited to be able to be part of that. Taking over the Combine for Sparty, who started the site, where Grillz launched his own site, which was cool. I think the big thing I think about, how can I grow upon what's already been built? You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you are given some really strong fundamental tools from a strong leader like Sparty, and just want to build upon it, see where I can influence with my authenticity, and make sure that's taking it in the right direction and do good things.
So Sparty's already got Q-Source going, right? Something Grillz did that was pretty unique. It's not necessarily a Q-Source, but some book studies, some intentional book studies. So he started with Wild at Heart, which is a book about kind of life on the prairie. No, it's a book about being a man.
It's a book about being a man.
Yeah. So tell me about that. The Q-Source book studies. as a site Q, what do you think is kind of your role in like engaging guys in those kind of extracurriculars?
Yeah, so that's one of the things I'm really excited about. I do really enjoy Q-Source. Probably talk too much at them. Not as much as Plague, but definitely out there. But anyway, it's going to be. I'm really excited about that part of it and the book side of it. So, as an F3, if you haven't already read Free to Lead or dove into the Q-Source, those are some of our foundational text and information that we base a lot of our direction and fundamentals off of, which I love. So we're just finishing up the Q-Source, which is the kind of the meat of what the lingo and the live right, lead right, kind of the fourth quadrant. We're finishing that up, but we're going to be starting Free to Lead when I take over. And the Q-Source is going to be great. So we're going to go back to some foundational OBT and Dread. What their voice is saying and how their intentionality was behind F3. So these guys have grown so much that it's going to be really good to see guys get back into that or see it for the first time and know kind of why these things are the way they are and connect the dots for their own lives and where they're at. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah. So I think that one of the roles of a site view is really to look around and find packs and identify packs that are accelerating and then encourage them in that acceleration. And, F3, I've been involved in a lot of different leadership stuff over the years. And one thing that I didn't really realize until after I had been in F3 for a year was all of these resources that they have and how well-rounded and how well built out they are.
Yeah.
And so just getting guys to engage in those resources, and no matter where they are in their acceleration, being able to kind of plug them in to, hey, here's a place where you could plug in and go a little deeper and learn a little bit more about F3, get, a little bit further in your acceleration. And so that's where these book studies, and so for Battlefield, we didn't do a Q-Source specific site because there were already a couple of those, but to look at other books that are really, involved in engaging male leadership, and encouraging male leadership, and so that's where Wild at Heart came in, and then we did a 4-week study of Free to Lead. There's a lot of guys, especially who keep getting bigger and growing, where these guys, they haven't engaged with Free to Lead, and so just giving opportunities around the community where they can go to these different sites and engage with that content. Yeah.
And then on top of that, I would add to that is guys come to F3 that are ready to do something, they just don't know how. And you have to I feel like sometimes F3 is the vehicle that allows you to re-engage and learn how to lead again. Because after high school sports and like kind of that maturation stage of our lives, we lose opportunities to engage from the front and lead from the front. And society often has a tendency to, I guess I'd argue people on this, but kind of beat down that masculinity or that inherent sense to go lead something. And F3 is really trying to promote and foster that. So, as guys that are at Psyche, we have to be on another level dynamic-wise and recognize that in some of these guys and have a really fun conversation about what their goals are and how they can re-engage that part of themselves and re-engage in their own life.
Love that. One of the things that I've watched both of you do is come in to F3 and just lead from where you are, but also pursue additional opportunities. So come in and lead workouts. Right? Just start by queuing and trying to impact guys with your COPs. Start by trying to impact guys with just the conversations you have during the workout, the conversations you have during coffee. And, LPC, you mentioned being vocal during Q-Source discussions, but that's what those discussions are for. It's for guys to talk and share what's on your mind and to share. So I would just challenge you, if you're at a Q-Source discussion and I am there, your goal should be to talk more than me.
Sure.
And because how are you processing the information? How do you interpret some of the things that Q-Source is saying? The only way you're going to get better at applying that to your life is by talking through it. You know, I have yet to see a guy go and listen to the discussions and really experience the same level of change the guys experience when they're engaging and how does that apply? You know, here's what I think. Those are the guys that come away and they're like, I love Houston. One question, and I want to give Grillz an opportunity here. So, you know, you've got basically millions of listeners, ears right now, Grillz, and so if you were to have an opportunity to recruit a future site Q for Battlefield, what are you looking for? And then you know, maybe just your 30-second infomercial of like, why should they want to be a site Q at the one and only Battlefield?
The one and only Battlefield. Yeah. So, to these millions of listeners out there, you know, I would say, what I'm, so, you know, I started Battlefield with a very specific kind of mission in mind, and that was really to take this idea that F3 puts out there and then is really supported by Wild at Heart, and really kind of encapsulate that in a site where we're really working on preparing men for the battlefield of life, basically. And so I'm hoping that kind of culture continues at Battlefield, and that's something that the next site Q will really take seriously and look for ways to engage the packs that come to Battlefield, not just in really great, you know, epic workouts, but in other ways that go beyond the physical. And so that's kind of what I've had in the back of my mind for who's going to be next. And then you know, the Battlefield has been, I think, a really great gathering point. It was the same location as one of the other sites on Tuesday, the Coliseum. And so really kind of engaging guys in that part of town to really go deeper and maybe add another day. There was a lot of that when we started, the guys that weren't. And so that's been a really great, I think, addition to where we were really allowing guys to get closer in relationship, because they were either starting another day or we were taking relief off of other sites and really starting with a small group. And now, you know, with the Coops, when the Coops started, that's exactly what happened with Battlefield. It allowed us to really kind of get back to that smaller group and engage guys and get that conversation going. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I would just say is, so other guys that lead sites or guys that attend other sites, they may be thinking, well, that's great for the Battlefield and the Coops and the Combine or other sites that have a specific, you know, design of their workout in AO that has a discussion afterwards. But something that's been really cool I've noticed at the Burn is they're doing this TNT or Truth Target Thursday. I would just say, you know, whatever site you're going to or leading at or participating in, these opportunities exist to have these focused discussions on things that impact men. And like you said, girls, prepare them for the battlefield of life, or the flux, or life on life terms, whatever you want to call it.
On that, though, I would say, you know, going back to the Q source discussion, so sometimes whenever we're going through some of this stuff, it can get really, I mean, it can cause me to reflect on a lot of stuff for a couple days. And I'm not able to articulate in the moment. And so things like these Truth Nugget Thursdays or other conversations like that provide an opportunity for me to come circle back on some things that maybe impacted me at a Q source or something. And then I'm able to really get in there and have some time to reflect and then share that with somebody in a way that allows me to kind of think on it. So that's what I think is really important about just having that space. And sometimes that's a coffee, and sometimes, you know, that's, you need some intentionality around it to get guys to share that stuff.
Well, and on that intentionality piece, you know, a lot of times I go into any kind of role or any type of situation, I look at the inverse of what that is too. So Grillz talks about intentionality. If you go in as a site queue, and you don't have intentionality, what's the other side of that look like? Well, there is a failure portion of this if you don't do it properly or to some degree. And without that intentionality and ownership of whatever that intentionality is, your success rate, I truly believe, would dwindle completely. You would start losing guys at the site, disorganization, infighting, rumor mill, and there's a lot of things, there's some things that can fester that you don't want. And as a site Q, every ebbs and flows of how you handle the people there, the workouts, who's queuing, what kind of top serving this does, what you do allow to be a sort of safe space. So there's a lot of responsibility you don't think of in the second, third order that falls in your shoulders as that site Q and in a volunteer position.
I love that. Hey, just as we're thinking about, you guys have been in that group for a while, you've been in other leadership positions. What's a piece of advice that you would have for other guys, or maybe that you've heard that you're trying to maybe implement in your life more regularly?
It's a good question. Something that I guess there's two things. One is something I try to live by as much as I can, and then I only get really two things that I can control in my life, and that's about it, and that's my attitude and effort. And with that being said, if something gets thrown at me that's going to cause my feathers to get ruffled or get pretty PO'd about something, it's truly about how my attitude is, I approach it, and what effort I'm going to put into it after that attitude is changed. Things happen for us, not to us. And with that in mind, it's allowed me to kind of navigate some pretty tough waters, whether it be difficulties with my or learning how to parent better, be a better dad, or really learning how to engage properly and provide that focus and that intentionality to life for those habits that are needed to be successful. And I've got a lot of learning to do, but those kind of things I try to hold really close to the surface of myself.
Oh, that's really good advice. I love that. How about you, Bill?
Well, first let me say, LPC, I mean, one thing I really appreciate about you and getting to know you is just how authentic you are. When you bring to the table just an authenticity in your COPs or just a coffee. And so I think that is has been a huge plus for me, and just to see you engage with other packs that way. So, but to the question, like about a little nugget of information or whatever is, I would just say lean in. Yeah. For me, I Brazilian was the guy that, EH'd me with like half of Omaha, or half of the pack. But it took me almost a year to say yes. And then once I said yes, it was really only because there was a site next to my house. Yeah. And then it took me another year to really go to many workouts outside of the district, the month, on a Monday. Yeah. And then once I started going pretty much every day, it was kind of all of a sudden, boom, I was in it every day because the gym shut down with COVID. And it was during that time where I would go over to coffee at Cappy and really engage with guys that I was like, why haven't I been doing this sooner? Why hadn't I done this sooner? And just really leaning into those relationships and instead of kind of resisting because, I was involved in this, or I already had this, or work, or whatever. And so whether that's F3 or whether that's, your marriage or your kids or your work, there's always some area where you might be putting up some resistance. And so just to kind of lean into whatever that is. And once you lean in, usually there's something that comes out of it that you can learn from, or that it's better, or whatever. So that's what I
shout out to Brazilian on that. That's a great point of resiliency, or like do not be denied. Like he believes so much in something that he's still going to promote it to you even when you say no. You know what? What's going to happen if you try it once or twice? I mean, what do you have to lose? And I think that's a really great piece of advice for all of us. Not being denied when you do believe in something. And when you do, let's say you show up and it wasn't a great experience. Don't sell yourself short and thinking that it might not be different somewhere at a second time. Like, you're the new guy. That's always a rough go. I mean, even for guys that are super outgoing, that's still a uncharted territory. So putting yourself in that uncomfortable position, but having the faith in yourself is massive.
Yeah. One thing about about the resiliency is, as a kid, my mom always used to say, if something is bugging someone else, it probably has more to do with them than it does with you.
Yeah.
And so when you're out there sharing something, like when Brazilian was sharing F3 with me, and I would say no, it had absolutely nothing to do with him. It had only to do with where I was and stuff I had going on. And so, sometimes you can be the one that's EHing, and you can think, oh, they don't want to come because of something that I'm doing or saying, and I need to change my approach. But really, it's just you need to remain consistent, continue to love that person, and just be there. And then when the time is right, just like it was with me, something will click and it'll work out.
For sure. I do want to just mention, if you haven't checked out the F3 Nation podcast, you need to do that. There's a ton of resources there. And something they mentioned recently was, not only does every guy need F3, F3 needs every guy. And so, as we're here just learning from these two high-impact men, we'll do a little name-a-rama, and we'll close it out. But this is Brandon Flehardy, 35, the Flag.
Gavin Bickford, 38, Grillz.
Tyson Compton, 35, LPC.
LPC. Hey, thanks. This is our first lunch and lead on the GLUE-OOM, bringing you 21 feet, just about halfway to the 43 feet mark there. Have a good day, fellas. Out.